is a free LinkedIn training on how to get clients on LinkedIn without sending spammy messages or creating endless content. So if you guys have ever been in my webinars before, we are super engaging. We're talking the whole time. I'm pausing and answering questions. So let's make this as engaging as possible. Participate, pay attention, and you're going to get a lot out of it. So let's start off with some questions. True or false? You need to be an expert to become an influencer on LinkedIn. True or false? Yes, I see a lot of falses, which is good. That means you guys have the right mindset. You absolutely do not need to be an expert to dominate on LinkedIn, to become an influencer on LinkedIn, because there's lots of different relationships that you can have with your audience. You can be a cheerleader. You can be a hype man. You can be a reporter where you're reporting on the news. You can be a mentor where you have sort of a two-way relationship. You're giving advice, but you're also taking advice. So there's lots of different relationships you can have with your audience. And even if you're not an expert in anything yet, you can find your lane and figure out what you're going to transform your audience with and what relationship you're going to have with them. Okay, true or false? You need a lot of money for paid ads in order to grow your brand online. All right. Great mindset, everyone. It's true. It's false. You guys are correct. I meant to say it's true. It's false. It is false, especially on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn has a hackable algorithm. If you understand how the algorithm works, you can get more visibility and more engagement on your profile, which will lead to more followers and growing a community and ultimately your brand online. So you do not need any additional money on LinkedIn. All you need is your time and focus in order to grow, especially on LinkedIn. True or false? Spending lots of time creating content is the fastest way to grow on LinkedIn. You don't need Sales Navigator, Sally. In everything I teach, you do not need Sales Navigator. You do not need to pay anything extra to grow your profile on LinkedIn. So the answer again is false. On LinkedIn, really, if you post 3 to 5 quality pieces of content a week, you can do really well. And on LinkedIn specifically, video does not perform well. And video is the most time-consuming and expensive thing to create on social media. So especially on LinkedIn, it's easy to create fast content that does well, because what does well on LinkedIn? Stories, photos, polls, LinkedIn Lives that you just hop on and answer questions that don't take a lot of prep at all. So spending lots of content is not the answer on LinkedIn. It's understanding the tactics you need to grow on the platform. That's how you're going to win on LinkedIn. True or false? You'll come off as spammy if you try to sell on LinkedIn. I see it true, but it's false. If you understand human behavior, if you understand how to have common ground and relevancy and understand how to find your audience, your target audience, the exact person who needs your services, you'll never come off as spammy, because people want to be helped, and especially on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a professional platform. People are using LinkedIn to research in their buying journeys. When they're trying to vet a vendor, they're hopping on your LinkedIn profile and checking you out. And people are primed for sales conversations. They welcome sales conversations. I probably send 2,000 DMs a day. And most of the time, I would say almost 100% of the time, I get a thank you. And the only time I don't get a thank you is if we messed up in terms of who we were targeting and it wasn't the right target audience. So you'll never come off as spammy as long as you know the rules of DM engagement. Okay, so let's talk about who this training is for. You may be feeling lost and confused with a social media hamster wheel. You want a foolproof system to skyrocket your brand, magnetize your followers, and rake in new customers. You might be sick and tired of wasting your days creating content that gets ignored, and you want a new way to build a profitable following that showers you with cash. If this sounds like you, write yes in the chat. You're ready for a simple, effective way to build your following, outshine your competition, and become a well-known thought leader on your rapid way to success. I hope that by the end of this webinar, you have actionable tips to level up your profile on LinkedIn. And I'm going to be staying on for at least an hour answering any single question that you guys have. If you guys don't know me, I'm a person who is of service. I've grown my brand because I've helped people on LinkedIn for almost 6 years now. And for many years, I never sold a thing. All I did was just help through my podcast and through all the knowledge that I was willing to share. So I'm an open book. I literally never hold back on anything because I know that as long as I help people, everybody will support me, and it will always be beneficial to help other people, right? So I'm a person who's of service. If you have never met me before, that is my personality. And let's talk about who this is not for. People who just want to get rich quick. I cannot help you. I need people who want to work hard, because although there's lots of tactics that are going to get you really far, you're still going to have to do hard work. This is not a scam, get rich quick type of thing. People who want to get paid for doing nothing, you've got to be able to help people. You got to have a converting offer in order for any of my stuff to work. And people who care about money rather than helping others. You've got to have a service mentality to win on this platform. And let's talk about how we're going to make the most of today's class. So we've got about 2 hours together. An hour of that is going to be content related, or let's say 45 minutes. And then I'm going to go into Q&A. So I need your focus. We're going to cover a lot of ground. I'm going to answer questions throughout, and you're going to want to take notes. So what are you going to do to make the most out of today's class and pay attention? Are you going to put away your phone? Are you going to grab a tea or coffee? Are you going to make sure that you shut out of your email, shut out of Slack? Do you need a snack? I have a snack in case I get hungry because I didn't really eat anything yet today. So make sure you're prepared, get your coffee, get your tea, and let us know what you're going to do to pay attention and make the most out of class today. Write it in the chat. And then when you're done, type your initials and the date and sign off. You're going to commit to yourself to paying attention today. I always do my workshops and webinars live, because I want to make sure that I'm here in person and that everyone's engaged. When you're watching things on a recording or whatever, you really just don't get the same absorption of the material. So you're here in person, 242 of you. What are you going to do to pay attention and make the most of it? Put your name and the date when you're done. All right, coffee, no mail. Take notes, close all my tabs. Very good. All right. Okay, who's ready to get started? Oh, I love you guys. Great group. Really fun energy. All right, a little bit about me before we get started. I am Hala Taha. I'm the host of Young and Profiting Podcast. If you don't know about this podcast, it is a #1 entrepreneurship and business podcast across all apps and Apple. This is a little old. I have 15 million downloads. It's one of the biggest shows in the world. I get to interview the brightest minds in the world: Alex Hormozi, Grant Cardone, Damon John, Robert Cialdini, Chris Voss, you name it. I love my job being the host of this podcast. I'm also the founder and CEO of Yap Media. It's an award-winning social media agency. We're known as the #1 LinkedIn marketing agency. So I run influencers like Heather Monahan, Marshall Goldsmith, Matt Higgins. We just signed Jenna Kutcher. So running lots of celebrities, podcasters, influencers on LinkedIn. Like I said, known as the #1 LinkedIn marketing agency. And I also launched a podcast network. So I run the #1 business and self-improvement podcast network, where I grow and monetize podcasts. So I essentially have multiple businesses, and they all stemmed from my success on LinkedIn. My podcast is a business in itself, my social agency, and my podcast network. It would not be possible had I not started my personal brand on LinkedIn. When I first started my LinkedIn journey, I was working at HP. I had a normal corporate job, and I started my LinkedIn profile to promote my podcast. Because I did well on LinkedIn, I became an influencer within about a year because I was just consistent. I learned how to hack the algorithm, and I understood how to connect with my audience. I had previous experience with social media and things like this. I became the #1 podcaster on LinkedIn because, as you'll soon find out, there's not a lot of content creators on LinkedIn. Still to this day in 2023, 6 years later, There's so much opportunity to be the dominant person in your niche. So I became the #1 podcaster on LinkedIn even before my podcast blew up. And then because my podcast started doing well, the guests that would come on my show would ask me, who does your LinkedIn? Who does your podcast? How'd you grow this fast? Can you do this for me? Eventually I started saying, yes, I can. And I started my social media agency due to my podcast doing well. And then I figured out how to grow other podcasts. I started producing and growing other podcasts. I started to figure out sponsorships for myself. And once I figured out sponsorships for myself, I started getting sponsorships for the other shows. And then my podcast network grew organically. So from LinkedIn, I essentially built 3 businesses, 4 if you count my academy and my masterclass. And I've made over $10 million in revenue in the last 3 years off the back of LinkedIn. No paid ads, all an organic community. And the best part is I get to help people. And, it's just such a rewarding job. I've created my dream job, right? And it's all because of LinkedIn. And I hope that some of the strategies that I teach you today will also give you this type of freedom and success as well. And I'm here to help. Okay, so we've got 3 goals today. I'm going to teach you the pull in, push out, and convert method, which is basically my method for success on LinkedIn or any social platform. I'm going to provide you with working knowledge of the LinkedIn algorithm so you can pull in your brand visibility, discoverability, and authority to your LinkedIn profile. And I'm going to invite you to my 2-day live workshop, which is on September 6th and 7th. And I'm only going to invite you to this workshop if you give me permission and if I am able to deliver on 1 and 2, teaching you the pull in, push out, convert framework, and providing you with working knowledge of the LinkedIn algorithm, where you walk away from this class today knowing you've got things to change and improve and implement. Okay, does that sound good, everyone? All right, let's get started. Okay, why is it hard to grow your business in 2023? I've got over 230,000 followers on LinkedIn, and there's 2 big challenges that my following always tells me when it comes to growing their brand online. They say their content doesn't perform and it feels like a waste of time. And they say, I don't even know where to start with social media, but I know it's important. So these are 2 problems that we're going to try to solve today. And there's 3 big problems with social media. There's increased competition, content saturation, and changing algorithms. So increased competition. Since COVID, everybody's online, right? And now even people in corporate are online trying to build their personal brands. You've got to have a personal brand in 2023 and beyond. It is imperative. This is the future, guys. If you're unable to sell yourself, you're going to be in trouble in 5 to 10 years. The world is completely changing, and it's partially due to AI. To be honest, AI is going to change the world. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to listen to my recent episode with Mo Gaudat on AI, but it is so fascinating. That is one of the best episodes that I've done in a long time. And it was so eye-opening because AI is really going to be weaved into everything. It's going to really drastically change the economy. It's going to really drastically change the skills that we focus on, the jobs that we have. Everything is changing. And right now, the first thing that's being impacted is content online. So this is the first thing that is getting impacted, right? So copywriting now is AI generated. Images can be AI generated. Entire posts can be AI generated. So now all of a sudden, previous content creators that were crushing are able to 10x their amount of content, right? And people who have never created content and who suck at copywriting now have ChatGPT to help them with copywriting. So now we've got so much more competition, so much more content saturation. It is harder than ever to stand out. And lastly, changing algorithms, changing platforms, changing algorithms. But here's the thing, human behavior never changes, okay? I'm actually going to write a book this year, and it's all about marketing and human behavior. And I can't wait, because one thing that people always seem to forget is that human behavior never changes. LinkedIn's going to try as hard as possible. It is actually their goal to ensure that nobody goes viral. I don't know why, but they have this goal of if something goes viral, it's actually fishy to them, and they want to figure out how to make sure that doesn't happen. They want to control the narrative on their platform, but they can't, because they can't control who shares what because they can't control human behavior no matter how hard they try. So one thing with algorithms to note is that they change slowly, right? They're very complex. So today I'm going to teach you about the LinkedIn algorithm. It will take years before it completely changes, but it changes slowly over time. And one of the things that I always talk about is human behavior, because that never changes. And if we understand how to use human behavior in marketing, no matter what platform, no matter what algorithm, we're always going to be ahead of the game. Okay, so today we're going to focus on the LinkedIn algorithm. It's going to be one of the main things that I talk about, because we want to make sure that the algorithm works for us and not against us. With LinkedIn, it's not necessarily about the content that you put up. You could have the most amazing post in the world that is so meaningful, and you can't find it in a book and you can't find it anywhere. And the people who read it are engaged. But if you don't understand how the algorithm works, people are not even going to see that post, and it's going to get lost in a sea of content. And you guys may have had this happen before, where you work really hard on a post, you spend a lot of time on it, and you get 4 likes on it because you just can't get past the algorithm. So it's more important to actually understand the algorithm than it is to write and have amazing content. The algorithm needs to work for you. And so with LinkedIn, especially because there's still organic reach, if you understand the algorithm and the tactics, you'll get much further than if you spent all this time and effort on the content. So of course we want to have good content, but it's a waste if you don't understand the algorithm. And 10 years ago, LinkedIn was like an open playing field. No matter what you posted, you got visibility and your posts went viral. That's why you see there's all these influencers who may have 1 million followers and 0 engagement on their posts now. They get 20 likes on their posts with 1 million followers. Why? Because they haven't kept up with the algorithm. Because even if you have a lot of followers, that doesn't mean you have a lot of reach or influence, right? So I'm going to teach you how to have influence and get impressions and visibility on your posts without needing thousands of followers. It's really about leveraging the algorithm to work for you. Okay. Are you guys excited to learn about the algorithm? Because I'm about to give you guys all the secret sauce that you cannot find in a book. You cannot Google this online. It is gold. It is absolutely gold. And I hope that it really changes your LinkedIn journey for you. So why LinkedIn, guys? I touched on this earlier. A lot of you guys hopped on a few minutes late. Why LinkedIn? First of all, professional focus. People on LinkedIn are primed to have sales conversations. It is not like Instagram and TikTok where people want to be entertained and entertained, and they want to laugh and they want to look at fashion and beauty. That is not what's happening on LinkedIn. People on LinkedIn want to be educated. They want to talk about sales. They want to improve their company. They want to improve their own business. They want to learn, right? Because that's what they're on LinkedIn for. So having sales conversations in the feed or in the DMs, this is welcomed on LinkedIn, where on other platforms, it is not welcome. So if you're a small business owner, if you're a coach, if you're an author, if you're a podcast host, if you're a corporate professional trying to become a thought leader, LinkedIn is the place for you. Number 2, you can find your audience on LinkedIn in a laser focused manner. This is totally different than any other platform. There are dozens of search filters where you can find your audience. Your audience is registering for events, where you can basically search keywords and look up events and find the people who are registered for those events. And then you can join those events and DM those people and get away from having to, there's a limit of only being able to DM your first connections. If you register for events with target keywords of your following, you can then DM everybody who signed up to that event without being a first connection. This is a game changer. You could do the same thing with groups. And so there's so many different ways to find your targeted audience, both through search attributes and the behaviors that they take. Liking and commenting on lookalike profiles, liking and commenting on certain posts with different hashtags. There's so many different ways to find your target audience in mass, which is really the key to any successful marketing, right? So LinkedIn is a gold mine when it comes to that. And a lot of people are not taking advantage of this. And lastly, to my point just now, it's an overlooked opportunity. And I'll give you a stat that is so eye-opening. There's 135 million active users on LinkedIn every single day. 135 million people are on LinkedIn looking at the content. They're absorbing the content. They're checking their DMs. They're active on the platform. Only 5.2% of those 135 million people are actively publishing content on LinkedIn. They are content creators. And LinkedIn is prioritizing these content creators because there's so few of them. So like I mentioned earlier, I became the #1 podcaster on LinkedIn. And it was because I didn't have any competition. It was easy to become the #1 podcaster. It would be easy to become the #1 person in real estate, easy to become the #1 financial expert, easy to become the #1, coach for women who are trying to lose weight. There's a lane for everyone. LinkedIn is an open playing field right now. And especially because you're in a webinar like this, you're going to be ahead of the game because you're going to understand how the algorithm works, the different engagement hacks. And if you join me for my masterclass, you're really going to be ahead of the game and be able to outperform everyone and become the dominant person in your niche. So it's a great, it's such a positive story. The people who go through my masterclass, every single one of them gets drastic results and improves their business because it works like clockwork if you understand the tactics. Which brings me to my PPC model. So pull in, push out, convert. This is the secret of success on LinkedIn. So pull in. This is all about pulling in your audience in a magnetic way. So you've got brand, you've got authority, and you're discoverable. Okay. When people have a problem with this, essentially they cannot be found on LinkedIn. Their target audience does not find them on their own accord. With push out, this is really all about proactive lead generation, pulling in your target audience and drumming up interests and leads for your business. Before we can be magnetic, we've got to push out and actually proactively pull in our leads so that we have, we can eat and make sales while we're creating our brand and making ourselves more discoverable and creating our authority and social proof. Okay. And lastly, convert. The problem with conversion typically is a leaky funnel. There's something in your funnel that's not working. Maybe you don't understand how to find your leads. Maybe you don't have a good lead gen tool that really incentivizes people to give you their name and email. Maybe your offer doesn't convert. Maybe your offer is not valuable. It's not compelling. It's priced too high. It's priced too low and looks cheap. And that will ultimately result in no sales. So we need to improve all 3 aspects of this framework. And for pull in, which is essentially creating a magnetic brand where people find you on their own accord, is all about having a strong voice and visual identity on LinkedIn. Now on LinkedIn, having a strong voice is way more important than having a strong visual identity. And that's actually a really good thing because it's very expensive to have a strong visual identity. You might need a graphic designer or a video editor. You might need to create a brand book. But on LinkedIn, none of that matters because the more corporate, the more branded, the more logo, the worse it performs. People want authentic connections and authentic conversations. And so really what works well on LinkedIn is photographs of yourself, photographs of you on a computer, of you on the phone. Just photographs work well on LinkedIn, and hopping on live in a really organic manner and using polls and things that don't require heavy visual, video, and graphics elements. Okay. So for visual identity, you might need to understand your colors, the psychology of color, your fonts, but not much else, right? You need to understand what people look at and the eye tracking patterns of graphics and, how to make sure you're well aligned and how to make sure that nothing looks too cluttered. And so that's the kind of stuff that I teach about graphics because there's very little you need to know to actually do really well on the asset side of things on LinkedIn. And voice is where you actually need to pay most of your attention to because on LinkedIn, there's a lot of storytelling. You need to be super clear with your messages. And so when it comes to voice, you need to understand your values, your personality type, your audience profiles, the 4 or 5 messages that you're going to repeat over and over and over with your audience so that they know what you stand for, the way that you're going to transform them. And then lastly, the way that you're going to deliver on that impact, those messages. How are you going to transform your audience? What are you going to share? What are you going to talk about? What clips are you going to create? And so on. Okay. So that's voice. Optimize profile. Your LinkedIn profile is so important. It is a very important piece of real estate. So optimizing your profile is very important. Having a great profile picture, ensuring that your LinkedIn profile banner, that real estate is being utilized, updating your work with me profile, like turning on content creator mode, and so on. So optimizing your profile is very important because people will click on your post and immediately click on your profile and basically validate your social proof. So ensuring that you've got social proof on your profile. Algorithm and engagement hacks. So what we were talking about before, learning how the algorithm will work for you. Super important so that you can go viral, build a following. Otherwise, you're going to create endless content and get no results. And that's a waste of everyone's time. And if you understand algorithm, engagement, and publishing hacks, you will eventually go viral and overperform. So today we're really going to focus on algorithm and engagement hacks. That's the main thing we're going to learn about today. Okay. Now, with push out, like I said, as we're building this takes time. This might take 6 months. This might take 1 year of consistency, right? As we do this, we still need to generate leads for our business. And so we need to push out. We need to proactively push out and get leads for our business. So that includes invite campaigns. On LinkedIn, you have a limit of sending about 70 invites per day. DM campaigns. There's unlimited DMs on LinkedIn. Not many people know this or understand this. You can DM your first connections and you have 30,000 of them, up to 30,000 of them. Okay. Every day you can DM them. You can find people in events. You can sign up to groups and DM people. And that is where most of the clicks and sales are happening on LinkedIn. This is a huge part of the strategy. Educational sales content, understanding how to leverage the feed to sell in a way that's not going to turn people off, in a way that's going to serve others and get people compelled to learn more about your offering. Hopping on live streams so that you can showcase your thought leadership and expertise and do Q&As and really connect with your first connections and your community. And then lastly, leveraging LinkedIn events and webinars like this to sell your products and offers. So that is proactive lead generation, especially when it comes to LinkedIn. And then lastly, conversion. So this is the piece of the puzzle that always needs work. So in my masterclass, I teach you everything you need to know about pull in and push out. And that works like clockwork. If you follow the rules, you're going to do a lot better, 10 to 1,000 to 2,000x better. And I'm not exaggerating when I say those numbers, right? So that works like clockwork, but conversion is something that we always need to work on because conversion is individualized. And that's where I want to help people in an individualized manner. So if you guys join my 2-day masterclass, September 6th and 7th, most people join our mastermind afterwards. And then we have office hours calls twice a month. And that's where me and other peers who are typically entrepreneurs, coaches, and so on, we're helping each other with our offer development. Hey, does it seem like it's priced too high? Hey, I'm having trouble converting. Hey, I need more sales training and persuasion training, and I'll bring on an expert to give us sales training and persuasion training and so on. So conversion is something that together we need to continually improve and optimize. And there's always room to improve. There's no rules to conversion. We need to keep figuring it out and work together to figure that out. So if you have a converting offer already, you are really in a good position. If you need help with your converting offer, you're also in a good position, but it's going to take time and work so we can figure out how your offer can convert because you will be getting in leads. You will be getting a following. We need to figure out how to make sure they convert. That's the hardest part of everything. So let's talk about what happens when all these things are working together and what is the dream out of all of this. So if you're able to pull people in where they're finding you on LinkedIn, you're discoverable, you're going viral. Second and third connections are finding you on their feed. If somebody types in Google your niche, you pop up and your LinkedIn link pops up first and people can click right there on your profile because you've got that much authority and discoverability. You know, somebody types in a hashtag, they see your post first because it's got the most engagement. So you have, and if you can also push out where you're proactively pulling in your audience, where you understand how to find your target audience in mass, you understand the different attributes you can search for, you understand the different behaviors that you can search on and find your audience in mass, you understand the language that you need to come off as not spammy and come off as helpful, where people want to continue the conversation with you and eventually have a sales call. Now you have influence if you can pull in and push out. And like I mentioned, this works like clockwork. You know the rules, it will work. Now, if you can push out, let's say you don't understand how to go viral. You don't have an optimized profile. Nobody can discover you, but you're really good at lead generation. You have live streams. You understand invite and DM campaigns. You understand how to create educational content. And even though you have a small following, people are hopping on calls with you and you're able to convert them. You've got a great offer. It seems really valuable. It's something people can't resist. You've got a great funnel. You've got a great sales team. You understand how to persuade people and you can close sales. So you're able to get leads and close sales. Now you have money, right? You have wealth. Okay. But the real place that we all want to be is being magnetic and discoverable and pulling people straight into conversion where we're not doing any outreach. We're not doing any paid ads. We're spending all our time just creating content, bringing in leads, and closing them. That is freedom. That is where a lot of my business is right now. My social media agency, I never had a paid ad. I never had to do any cold outreach. I have a wait list of clients because I am undoubtedly the number one LinkedIn marketing expert. I'm undoubtedly the number one LinkedIn marketing expert, and I'm not cheap. My services start at $10,000 a month for LinkedIn done for you services. Okay. One of the reasons why I started my masterclass is because my pricing is just out of touch for most people. And like I said, I've always been somebody who helps people, right? And this is my way of helping entrepreneurs at scale who can't afford $10,000 a month to have my team specifically do their LinkedIn profile for them. So right now with my social agency, I'm at freedom. I don't do any work to get my clients. I have a wait list of clients. They come to me, they DM me, they email me through my website, and then we convert them. So no proactive lead generation. But for my podcast network, it's new. I'm still branding it. People still don't know me as a go-to person for podcast sponsorships. And so I have to do proactive lead generation. I'm reaching out to people in my DMs. I'm making connections. I'm sending out emails. I'm advertising, and I have to do push out while I build the pull in. I'm lucky because for the first 2 years of growing my brand on LinkedIn, I didn't sell anything. And then once I was able to turn on my social agency, I had leads, coming through the door. So that is a dream. And we're going to do an exercise right now so I can understand where everybody is on that scale. Okay. So let's rate ourselves. And you guys can rate yourselves red, yellow, or green. Red needs a lot of work. Yellow could be better. Green is crushing it. Not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet. We're going to go through one by one. So pull in. So this is all about having a magnetic brand. Do you feel that you're discoverable, that people find you, reach out to you on their own accord? Do you feel like you're an authority, you're a thought leader? Rate yourself. And I'm going to have a piece of my fruit bar, guys, because I forgot to eat this morning, unfortunately. And I want to make sure I've got good energy for you. All right. Got a lot of reds, got a lot of yellows. I'm going to hop off camera for 2 seconds while I just eat this bar and take you guys through this. Actually, I don't care if you guys see me eat, whatever. All right. Push out. Rate yourself. How well do you proactively generate leads? Are you hopping on live stream? Are you sending invites? Are you sending DMs? Are you creating webinars? Oh, lots of red. Lots of red. All right. So if we have time, I do have slides about push out and proactive lead generation, and we'll try to get to that if we have time. Okay. Okay. Next one, conversion. How well are you once you have a lead and they're on the call with you or they're on a DM with you? How well do you actually convert them into sales? All right, we got a lot of reds and yellows, not that many greens. Did anybody get green on all of these? Anybody get green on everything? All right, we got work to do. We got work to do. Okay, so like I mentioned today, we're really going to focus on the LinkedIn algorithm and viral content. Are you guys ready to learn about the LinkedIn algorithm? Okay, let me have one more piece of my bar, guys, so that my stomach doesn't growl while I do this. Okay, let's go. Orlando, eat, Holly, eat. Sorry, guys. I'm so busy. I just back to back, All right. So LinkedIn is a professional network like any other social media network. So they may brand itself as a social media network. Sorry, they may brand themselves as like a professional network, right? So when you're thinking of social media, and this always happens with me, when I tell people who are not on LinkedIn about LinkedIn, they're like, isn't LinkedIn just for getting a job? And it's like, no, LinkedIn is a huge social media platform. I think it's the third biggest platform in the world. 135 million people a day are using LinkedIn, and mostly for feed content. And so LinkedIn uses an algorithm just like every other social media network. It uses an algorithm to send content to its users. And this algorithm uses a variety of factors to make decisions essentially on whether or not they're going to send content to different users. And it's processing millions of posts, and it's determining what is going to make LinkedIn a sticky platform. How can they keep users engaged and entertained on the platform for as long as possible? When you guys are thinking about creating content on any platform, always keep in mind the platform is going to reward users who keep users on engaged and as long on the platform as possible. If you can keep users engaged and entertained, the platform is going to reward you. That's like the golden rule of any social media, okay? So keep that in mind and understand that LinkedIn is an algorithm just like any other. LinkedIn has an algorithm just like any other social media platform. So let's talk about the 4-step algorithm. And now this is something that you cannot find online. You cannot find it in a book. I have read through dozens of LinkedIn engineering documentation, really, really nerdy stuff to get this information. I run the #1 LinkedIn marketing agency, and most of my clients are huge influencers with hundreds of thousands or millions of followers. And I've got dashboards, and I can tell immediately, oh, we put up a poll and they all bombed. Polls suck now. Oh, we put up a viral video and it was under 30 seconds, no captions, and all of them are doing amazing. Okay, viral videos are hot now. I can tell the trends right away because I'm managing almost all the influencers on LinkedIn. And so I can tell when things are bombing and doing well. And I constantly am iterating in terms of, okay, this is working, this is not working. And we're doing tests all the time, like testing how many hashtags should we use? Should we tag people? Should we not tag people? What happens if we put a link in the caption versus the comments? We're constantly testing these kinds of things to see what's working and what's not working. So this is how I've developed this overview of the LinkedIn algorithm. And now it's not 100% accurate because LinkedIn is not giving us the information that we need to win. We've got to decipher everything. But this is very accurate based on what has been performing for my clients. And we're continually tweaking this slowly over time because the algorithm doesn't change very drastically. It doesn't change fast. It changes slowly over time. Okay. So let's talk about the algorithm breakdown. I'll pull up my chat in case you guys have questions. Like I said, let's make this as interactive as possible. If I know I'm going to answer a question later on, I won't answer it and I'll wait till the end. Or I'll just go through the content and you'll get your answer questions. Okay. Get your question answered. All right. #1, spam filters. As soon as you put up a post on LinkedIn, LinkedIn is essentially scanning that post and categorizing it into 3 filters: spam, low quality, and approved. So spam is kind of obvious, right? So profanity, nudity, putting your phone number, putting your email, tagging 50 people in your post, putting 50 hashtags, things like that are going to make you flagged for spam. And essentially LinkedIn is going to deprioritize and suppress your post, and they're not going to show it to more people. The second category is low quality. Now, this is less obvious. This is things like chunky paragraphs. LinkedIn knows that people on LinkedIn are scanning through about 9 posts at a time, and they're on their mobile phone, which is scaled down, and people are skimming through very fast. You want to be skimmable. So LinkedIn is actually judging the formatting of your posts, and they want to see clear formatting. One big chunky long paragraph, LinkedIn is going to deprioritize your post. Also, if you have grammar errors, if you're not using punctuation, LinkedIn is going to deprioritize your posts. If you're using too many links, external links, remember, LinkedIn wants to keep users engaged and entertained on the platform for as long as possible. So if you're pointing out to an external third-party link, you're taking users off the platform. LinkedIn is going to deprioritize your posts and make sure not a lot of people see it because they want to keep users on the platform. So low quality is sort of, you've got to know the little nuances so that you can potentially go viral. Now, if you follow all the best practices, you've tagged less than, you've used 3 hashtags or less in your posts. That's one of the biggest mistakes that get people flagged. They're using too many hashtags. Doesn't work on LinkedIn. And, you're skimmable. You're using line by line style content. So you've got good formatting. You've got good grammar, good punctuation. You're using keywords in your posts that might align to keywords in other people's profiles. You're doing all the best practices. Now you have a chance to go viral and move on to the next steps. So if you're low quality or approved, you move on to step number 2. And essentially, this is a very short step where LinkedIn is feeding your content to a subset of your first connections. And essentially, it's making sure that it didn't miss anything. So it's checking to see if people are reporting you, flagging you, blocking you. And then if that happens, they're going to suppress your post because they figure they missed something that might have been spammy. Okay. Now, if you get through this portion and nobody flags or hides your post, you move on to content scoring. This is by far the most important step of the algorithm in terms of going viral. And so your post is going to be served to your audience based on 2 different things: content scoring and probability of user action. Okay. So let's focus on content scoring. Every viral action on LinkedIn is actually weighted differently. And this goes for any social media platform. Viral actions are always weighted differently. And it's important to sort of study those viral actions to figure out how the algorithm is judging your content. Okay. So on LinkedIn, a like is worth 1 point. A comment is worth 2 points. A share is by far the most viral action. It's worth 4 points. A share with a caption is worth 4.5 points. You always want to try to get a share and a share with a caption. That's how you go viral and get visibility to your second and third connections. Okay. So that means that you could get 200 comments on your post and not go viral, because shares is what makes a post go viral on LinkedIn. So as you're putting up your content on LinkedIn, LinkedIn is basically doing content scoring. They're trying to see how much viral action this post is going to get. And based on people clicking, liking, commenting, they're going to decide, okay, it's working well. That's getting a lot of engagement. We're going to keep serving this to more people because it's doing well, right? They want to keep users entertained on the platform. Now, LinkedIn is also judging based on past author behavior and past user behavior. So when it comes to past author behavior, LinkedIn is actually going to judge, will the author stay on if we make this post do well? Will the author spend more time on the platform? They do not want you to post and ghost. This is why it's okay to be in engagement pods where you're supporting other people's posts after you post up your own posts, because LinkedIn actually doesn't want you to post and ghost. This is why you shouldn't use scheduling tools. LinkedIn actually wants to see you spending time on the platform. LinkedIn wants to invest in content creators. So it's judging you on that past author action. LinkedIn is also going to judge you on how well your posts have done in the past. It's judging your last 10 to 15 posts. And so that's why it's super important to delete any underperforming posts from your last 10 to 15 posts, because LinkedIn is going to take that average and decide, all right, in the past, Hala did XYZ. We think she'll do that again. So we're going to keep serving her content to more users, right? Now, user action is really interesting. LinkedIn is judging based on past user action. And this is why it's so important to understand invite and DM strategy and leverage that in your tactics. So if you recently connected with someone, that user is going to see your content at the top of their feed for 2 weeks. If you recently DM'd someone and they DM'd you back, that user is going to see your content at the top of their feed for the next 2 weeks. If a user likes your post, they're more likely to see your post. If they comment on their post, they're even more likely to see your post the next time. If they share, they're like 85% more likely to see your post. So basically inviting, DMing, and people engaging on your posts will start this flywheel effect. And that's how you build a community and start to go viral, because the same people engage and see your content and support your content. Okay. So if you're somebody who has 30,000 followers and 0 engagement, what that tells me immediately is you need to re-engage your first connections so that they start seeing your content again. meaning you need to DM your first connections and get them to DM you back so they can start seeing your content again and you can start getting engagement, right? So there's like a lot of people are in these like jails on LinkedIn because they don't understand how to break out of it, right? So if you understand the algorithm, you'll understand how to break out of these situations. Now, number 4, this is the most unique aspect of the algorithm for LinkedIn. And I don't know any other platform that does this. LinkedIn wants to control the editorial agenda of LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a very strict platform. If you notice, like they're really strict about there's no bots on LinkedIn, which is great news for us. They even remove dead profiles on LinkedIn. They are really serious about keeping it professional, keeping it real, keeping it authentic, keeping it non-salesy, and aligned to their agenda. LinkedIn makes money in 2 ways: ads, and they compete with companies like Indeed and ZipRecruiter, right? And so they want to be positioned as a professional network that has hiring, recruitment, that talks about career milestones, that talks about entrepreneurship. And so LinkedIn human editors are going through the top posts of the day, and they're actually deciding what they're going to pour the gasoline on and what they're going to suppress. And so if you have something very salesy that's pointing to your own sales offer, LinkedIn's going to suppress that. If something went viral that's just like random and not aligned to LinkedIn's editorial agenda, it's not aligned to any holidays, it's not aligned to any recent news stories that they're pushing, it's not aligned to hiring or recruitment or careers, they're going to stop it because it doesn't align to their editorial agenda. And so I always tell people, once or twice a week, you got to think about the intersection between your topic and careers, your topic and hiring, your topic and entrepreneurship, so that if your post does really well, LinkedIn will turbocharge it and not the opposite, suppress it. So with my engagement tactics and my publishing tactics and knowledge of the algorithm, I can get myself and my clients always 500 likes to 3,000 likes on their post, right? And maybe up to like 300,000 impressions on their post. But to get that 100,000 like post with millions of impressions where you get 20,000 followers at a time, or 30,000 like posts where you get 10,000 followers at a time, LinkedIn needs to basically turbocharge your posts, meaning it needs to align to the editorial agenda of LinkedIn. So you'll never go massively viral unless your stuff is something that LinkedIn actually wants to push. Okay. All right. Let's take a breather really quick. How much did you guys learn so far? Do you guys feel like you just learned a ton about, I mean, this is like secret sauce of LinkedIn. Good. Yeah. I'm not somebody, I'm like, no bullshit. You're never going to spend time with me and feel like you didn't learn. Like it's no BS. Okay, good. All right. Let's talk about engagement hack. Please eat and take a drink. I will. We have a quiz later and I'll take another bite. All right. So like I mentioned, LinkedIn has 2 main ways that they make money: ads and hiring and recruitment. LinkedIn only uses 22% of their feed for promoted posts, which means that we can influence almost 80% of the feed by our actions. So like I said, LinkedIn is a hackable platform, and there's lots of different publishing and engagement tactics you need to learn to win. So like on Instagram, you need to pay for boosting in order to hit the explore page. You literally have to pay another service. It is so hard, unless you're really good at Reels, to get any sort of traction on Instagram organically. On LinkedIn, it's different. If you understand the different engagement hacks, the different publishing hacks, if you're able to join an engagement pod, which if you join my masterclass, you join one, you're going to do well because that's all you need. You don't need any paid ads. You don't need any additional money. You just need to understand the tactics. Okay, so let's talk about spam filter engagement hacks. Okay, so like I mentioned, if you are pointing to an external third-party link on your post, you are not going to go viral. So if your goal is to go viral, you always want to include your external link as a comment or not include a link at all. Okay. If you want to go viral, if your goal is to have sales, then you can put your link in the caption, but you should know that it's really only going to reach your first connections for the most part. It's not going to go viral. And you can delete that post later on. So every post has a purpose. And if you want to go viral, you've got to put the link in the comments. Okay. Now, this is a little bit like people get so surprised by this. But even if there's a feature on LinkedIn that you can leverage, it doesn't mean you should use that feature. So for example, you want to avoid tagging people in your post. So even me, I'm very popular on LinkedIn. I'm one of the most popular people on LinkedIn. I don't tag anyone, even though like they might engage, but they might not. And that's a problem. If people who you tag don't engage on your posts, literally within the first like 30 minutes, and honestly, the more I do this, the more that I realize that if it's not in the first like 10 minutes, you get deprioritized and your post gets suppressed. People have overused the tagging to a degree that in general, when you tag people, it's flagged as spam unless they engage right away, like and comment right away. So unless you have a pre-conversation with someone that you're tagging where you tell them, hey, I need you to engage within the first 15 minutes of this post or else it's not going to do well, you're better off tagging people in the comments or not tagging them at all, okay? Another thing that people get wrong, using too many hashtags. It's not like Instagram where you want to use like 20 hashtags. People aren't really using hashtags like that on LinkedIn. You only want to use 0 to 3 hashtags in your post. And so I always recommend you can have a branded hashtag where you're trying to get people to learn about your brand, follow that hashtag. So for me, I always do like YAP, Young and Profiting. And then I have one broad hashtag that I'm owning, which is podcast. Okay. And I did that for many years. Now, LinkedIn has recently changed where they're prioritizing educational, meaningful content. And they're actually matching keywords in your post to keywords in people's profiles. And so now we're really leaning into creating individualized hashtags per post that have keywords that might match with keywords in people's profiles. And that's what we're doing for every post. And it seems to be working well. Something else you should note with hashtags is that 85% of LinkedIn influencers don't use hashtags at all. And that's because a lot of influencers have probably seen that hashtags actually hurt their performance because they don't understand this keyword thing that I just told you about. That's new. Because in the past, hashtags did hurt performance. But now if you use certain keywords that are relevant to your post and relevant to the people who you want to see your post, those keywords might be found in their profile, then that works really well right now, okay? Here's another big one. Probably the biggest hack that I'm going to give you today, because a lot of people do this wrong and it will immediately improve your performance. Do not share and repost content as a content creator on LinkedIn. You only want to create and post original content, okay? So let me say this again. There's a share button and a repost button on LinkedIn. And when you're seeing your favorite influencers' content, you may feel like you want to share and repost it because you like it. But because that is not original content and LinkedIn is prioritizing original content creators, only 5% of all people are creating original content. LinkedIn doesn't even put that content through the algorithm. That's why when you do a share, you probably see that you only get 2 or 3 likes. It seems like nobody's seeing it because it's true. Nobody's seeing it. Okay. And so you never want to do a share and repost, but it's counterintuitive because as an influencer or somebody who wants to gain influence on LinkedIn, you want to get people to share. So right now, me telling you this secret is totally to my disadvantage as an influencer. I tell thousands of people a week this secret. It is totally to my disadvantage, but I want you guys to win. And so don't share my stuff. If you want to support me, can write a net new post about me and I'll support it, right? You want people to share your stuff, but as a content creator, you never want to share. Does that make sense? Tell me that makes sense. I know this is a little hard to understand. Does that make sense? So instead of posting sales content on your feed, so salesy content, nobody wants to be sold to, guys. Nobody wants to feel like they're being sold to. That is like an immediate turnoff. We are hardwired to hate salespeople. We never want to feel like anyone's taking our money, right? But we love to be helped. We want to understand the solutions to our problems. So instead of posting salesy content on your feed, you're going to post educational content on your feed related to your niche and product. You're going to teach people what you know best. And the people who like that content are likely going to want your product or service because hopefully your product or service further helps them with that problem. So anybody who likes and comments on your sales content, you're going to want to retarget them in the DMs. So this is called closing the loop, permission-based marketing. If somebody likes and comments on your educational post, they're raising their hand and saying, you have permission to reach out to me because I took the first action. I took the first action and I supported your post about this topic. Now you have permission for anybody who liked, commented, or shared your post to reach out to them in the DMs. Hey, I noticed you liked my recent post about XYZ. I'd love to provide some additional value. I've got a free webinar coming up next week. I'd love to invite you and you'll find a lot of value based on your profile. Let's connect. Hope to see you there. Most people, probably 100% of those people are going to say, thank you so much. I can't wait to join, because you're still not selling them. You are building your social currency. You're still not even selling to them. You're just giving them value. You gave them value in the post. You gave them value in the DMs. Now they're going to respond back to you on the DM, and they engage in your posts. That means they are like 90% likely to see your post the next time you post, and they're going to engage again. And what happens when they engage again? Their following sees them engage on your content. People like people who are like them. So they've got coworkers from their companies who are following them. They've got people in the same industry, colleagues. They're now going to see your content based on a referral, which is super powerful, right? So this is how you sell on LinkedIn, okay? You always want to delete posts that underperform in contrast with other posts. So I mentioned this earlier, LinkedIn is evaluating your last 10 to 15 posts. This is good news, because if you've been posting on LinkedIn for years and you've been bombing, you're not going to get penalized for that. YouTube, if you have a YouTube profile and you've been posting for a year and you've sucked for a year, it is almost impossible to grow that YouTube channel again. TikTok, you know how many times I've shut down my TikTok and restarted it and shut down my TikTok and restarted it? Because once it sucks forever. LinkedIn is not like that. You can start from today on a new leaf, go back through your last 15 posts, delete the underperforming ones, and start on a good track from today. You have the potential to go viral no matter how bad you performed in the past. So really great news for everyone. Lastly, don't post the first comment. You want to make sure that if you are posting a comment, you wait until people comment first. There's a ratio of author comments. You want to stick by 30 to 70% ratio. Now, we are out of time. We are out of time for the first hour. We've got 231 participants. A bunch of people have just logged off. So do I have permission before anybody else logs off to talk about my masterclass, and then we will get back into the content? Do I have permission to talk about my masterclass right now? Because some people are logging off. And the longer you guys stay on in mass, the longer I'll go. All right. Okay, so we're going to go back to the quiz. We're going to go back to the quiz in a second. And we are going to just talk about my masterclass really quick, and then we'll go back to the content, and then I will do Q&A. So first, I'm going to just do a testimonial from Doug, one of my masterclass students.
I was posting on LinkedIn daily for about a year before joining Hala's program. I always felt good about my content, and I was spending a lot of time researching how to optimize the algorithm on my own, but it wasn't getting me any results. I wasn't getting any more engagement, any more new followers, or any new business prospects. But Hala's masterclass solved all these problems for me. Hala knows the LinkedIn algorithm better than anybody, and that's the biggest value you get from this program. You leave with the confidence in knowing that you're doing it right on LinkedIn. You don't have to second guess every post. Was it too long, too short? Did you not include the right hashtags? This is where I was getting lost. I was spinning my wheels on all these things, but Hala basically gives you a cheat sheet for how to optimize LinkedIn to your advantage, no matter what type of business you are or how you're trying to use LinkedIn. She teaches you how to get that audience following you and how to find that audience that you're looking to attract. And you can't put a price on that. You get in-depth training on graphic design, optimum post times, copywriting templates, sales and DMing strategies, personal branding, boosting engagement strategies, and you basically get everything you need to grow your brand on LinkedIn. And you even get results right away. You know, the first post I made on LinkedIn, the day after taking the first day of the course, I got 40,000 impressions on my post. I'd never had anything more than like 5,000 impressions on a post before that. And then the next day, I got 50,000 impressions on my post. So just like that, I was already getting results right away. Here's some of the results I got within the first 4 weeks of completing the program. My total follower count increased by 33%. My average likes per post increased by 430%. My average impressions per post increased 1,400%. And the biggest metric of all, I was attracting 4 times more prospects through LinkedIn alone. In summary, this program works. If you follow Hala's strategies and apply them to everything you're doing on LinkedIn, you're basically guaranteed to get huge results. So I would highly recommend this program to anyone who's tired of struggling to build your brand or build your audience on LinkedIn.
Thank you to Doug. And by the way, guys, if you go to yapmedia.io/course, you'll see dozens of testimonials. I never pay anyone for testimonials. These are just all my students who feel thankful. I've never had a refund for this class. Hundreds of students have taken it. It's always gotten rated 10 out of 10, if not 12 or 15 out of 10. And so raving reviews, like I said, not one single person, and I swear on everything, has ever asked for a refund. It has always worked for every single person who has taken the class, because like I said, it works like clockwork if you just understand the strategies, and you get support from day one from the community. So it's basically foolproof. And so let's talk about when the next class is. So the next class is September 6th and 7th. It's from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be a live 2-day workshop with me. We've got an agenda. It's engaging. It's fun. Now, something to note is that this is going to be available on demand. So if you can't make all the class times, that's okay. You'll get it on demand for 2 weeks. And if you join the mastermind, you'll get it on demand ongoingly. Okay. So September 6th and 7th, I'm going to do Q&A later. So if anybody has questions about the class, let me know. In terms of the cost, so for 24 hours, we're giving 30% off. So it's going to be $13.99. Other students have valued this class up to $20,000. This is a LinkedIn masterclass, but this is also a sales masterclass. This is a human behavior masterclass. This is getting clear on your branding. You walk away with voice guidelines. So there's so much. It's not just a LinkedIn course. It's so much more than that. And it is an investment, but I promise you, if you are selling anything, if you're a coach, if you're an author, if you're a speaker, if you're a small business owner, you're going to get more leads and make the money back on this class pretty much immediately. I will increase your leads guaranteed. Okay. So it's an investment, but it's like will pay for itself very shortly. Okay. So this is the code. Kate, if you can drop it in the chat, if you guys use this link, it will automatically populate the promo code. And so I really hope to see a lot of you guys in class. We've got so many signups. It's going to be the biggest class yet. I'm so excited. I think everyone's just ready for like this back to school mentality. And I'm really excited. It's such a great group of entrepreneurs and coaches and consultants. We've just got a really high value group. So it's always a great time. Really quick, just the agenda so you guys understand what we're going to cover in this 2-day workshop. First day is all about building a foundation. So we're really going to talk about building your brand. So by the end of the 2-day course, you walk away with voice guidelines. So I've handcrafted exercises to help you validate and confirm your values, your personality type, your audience profiles, the messages that you're going to repeat over and over again to your audience, and the transformation and impact you're going to have with your audience. And then we work on your delivery method when you understand the features that work on LinkedIn and what really works and doesn't work on LinkedIn. We work on your delivery strategy together. Okay. So like I said, by the end of the class, you walk away with voice guidelines. This is the most important piece of your branding. You also are going to understand your audience relationship, your brand persona. We develop your personal branding statement and your tagline. So even if you have zero brand, you have no idea who your audience, what you stand for, I basically take you from 0 to 100. And if you have a brand, I help you clarify everything, because a lot of the times you may have started a business, but you really didn't do any work in terms of your branding, your messages, your voice. I have created exercises to get you there in a really fun and engaging manner. We're also going to talk about the psychology of design. This is one of my favorite parts of class. You actually don't need to know much about graphic design or video editing. You really need to understand when people see your images, what are they going to look at? How much copy percentage should percentage of copy should your post take up? How should you leverage fonts? How should you leverage the psychology of color? That kind of thing is what I teach in the class, because that's what you really need to know. We talk about LinkedIn profile optimization. And then last part of class on day one is copywriting. Copywriting is the hardest thing to teach. Now, we're lucky. We now have AI. I'm going to talk about how to leverage AI for copywriting. And then we're going to go over all the different viral copywriting templates that we use at Yap Media. This is the same training that I give my team at Yap Media, which we charge $10,000 a month to run people's LinkedIn profiles. And why do we charge that much? Because we get our clients ROI with all of our tactics, right? And they love us. Nobody ever leaves us, right? This is why I have a wait list. Day two, this is really all about building on that foundation, going viral, driving leads, converting sales. Okay. So mastering the LinkedIn algorithm. Today, I gave you 10% of what I teach in the class of the algorithm. That one, what you learned today is basically like one sliver of this piece of the course. Okay. There's so much more to learn. I spent probably 45 minutes on the algorithm. We didn't talk about dwell time. There's so many different things that we didn't talk about yet. We didn't talk about author stickiness and things like that. And so I really go through the LinkedIn algorithm in depth. We do quizzes, so it's not going to be overwhelming. It's a lot of information, but I do things in a way where it's easy to retain. And this is things that we're going to learn continuously together, because most people join my mastermind. It's really affordable. It's not meant to, it's all, the cost of that is just meant to sustain the community. And I'm constantly reteaching things, bringing things up. So that's something you can also keep learning over time. Then we go over engagement hacks. We talk about content strategy. We finalize your delivery strategy. And then the last portion of class is LinkedIn for business. So the language of sales, persuasion, DMing strategies, how to come off as not spammy, invite strategies, understanding the different types of connections you have on LinkedIn, and turning that following into leads. And that's something that we're always working on, as I mentioned before, to ensure that you guys have converting offers and continually drive more and more ROI from what you learned in class. Okay. So if anybody has questions about this, we'll talk about it later. I want to get back to the content. Take this link right now if you haven't yet, so that you guys can buy the masterclass really quick. Who here is interested in getting in on this class? Who am I going to see in class next week? And we already had a few people buy, so that's awesome. Who is coming to class next week? And if not, tell us why. I want to know your thoughts behind that. Okay, let's go back to the content. It's quiz time. All right, we got a lot of signups. Like I said, biggest class yet. So excited. Hope to see you guys in class. If you learned today, you're going to have your mind blown next week. And I'm so pumped for next week. I've got a lot of new material too, which I can't wait to share. All right, quiz time. And hold on, let me get my chat because I lost my chat really quick. Okay, quiz time. True or false? The 4-step LinkedIn algorithm includes spam filters, user flagging, content scoring, and AI screening. Ooh, we've got a lot of conflicting answers here, guys. Did we talk about AI screening? I don't think we did. False. The last step of the algorithm is ran manually by human editors who work on LinkedIn. What will not get you flagged for spam? A, tagging influencers in your caption. B, using 6 to 7 hashtags in your post. C, putting a link in your comments. D, posting sales-like content in your feed. What will not get you flagged for spam? Okay, I see some conflicting answers here. So just to reiterate, you have to use 3 or less hashtags in your post. Do not put hashtags in your post. Do not tag influencers in your caption. Tagging influencers is the worst thing that you can do because we're bombarded with notifications. We're not going to respond and you're going to be flagged as spam. Posting sales-like content in your feed is not going to help you go viral, and you may get triggered for spam because LinkedIn doesn't want you to sell on LinkedIn. They want to sell their own stuff. So C is the correct answer. Putting a link in your comments. Putting an external third-party link in your comments is the best way to solicit a link on LinkedIn. What should you never do as a serious content creator? A, share your posts off LinkedIn. B, reshare community posts with your own caption. C, delete underperforming posts. D, leverage features like LinkedIn Live. Let's see. We've got some A. So let me tell you why A most people got the answer right. It's no resharing, guys. It's the worst thing you can do. But let's talk through some of these other ones. Share your post links off LinkedIn. Lots of controversy with engagement pods. But guys, engagement pods are one of the best things that you can do. So if you're not familiar with an engagement pod, essentially it's taking your content offline on WhatsApp, Facebook, Telegram, sharing links with a like-minded community. Ideally, it's not transactional. You guys have common ground. Like, for example, you all took this course, you're all entrepreneurs, you're all in a certain industry, and you support each other's posts. You like and comment on those posts. Now, LinkedIn likes this for many reasons. Number one, you don't post and ghost, because after you post, you're commenting and engaging on other people's stuff. Number two, LinkedIn wants to keep users engaged and entertained on the platform for as long as possible. So if you're bringing people from Facebook to LinkedIn or WhatsApp to LinkedIn, that's great for LinkedIn. So this is not against terms of service. This is good practice on LinkedIn. And it's one of the ways that you can basically get good content scoring in the third part of the algorithm. Okay. So resharing community posts is a great way to fail performance-wise as a content creator, because LinkedIn prioritizes original content. All right, let's talk about what you learned today that you were doing wrong before. What's the one or two things that you learned today that you realize that you've been doing wrong all along that you're going to change and implement right away? What are you going to execute? Yep, got a lot of different things. Great, adding photos of yourself, no hashtags, no tagging, resharing, deleting non-performers. Sounds like you guys learned a lot. Sounds like you guys learned a lot, and there's so much more to learn. Okay. Can you see yourself putting these strategies into action immediately? All right. Are you guys ready for more content? And then we're going to get into Q&A. And we're running out of time here, but let's see how much we can get. If I can get through it quickly, I'm going to go over DM and sales strategies for some push out information. Okay. And Kate, if you can, I know I've been skipping over some questions. If you can try to pull them to the side so we can start with those questions in Q&A. All right. And like I said, I will stay for as long as we've got a mass of people on the line. Okay. So the longer you stay, the longer I stay. If we hit under 150 people, I'm going to close it out. Okay. Content best practices for LinkedIn. We already went through this. I'm not going to go through this again. Okay. Shareable content. Let me blow this up. Hold on one second. My screen is a little funky here. I'm going to get the chat open in case anybody has questions. All right, let's talk about shareable content. So guys, remind me again, what is the highest weighted viral action on LinkedIn? Let's see how much you guys learned. What is the highest viral action on LinkedIn that counts the most points? Yep. Mark is paying attention. Shares. Troy gets extra credit. Shares with a comment. Exactly. You guys are a smart bunch. So if we're thinking about content best practices, we want to have shareable content. You always want to think about how to have shareable content. And typically these are one of three things. Okay. So educational content is great for niche strategies. So typically, if you're an entrepreneur or a coach, you have a client avatar, you've got an audience target that you are looking to attract to your content. And your educational content is going to attract that audience persona. And so when you're trying to grow a following and you have something to sell, you're typically going to lean into educational content. And the good news is that LinkedIn is now prioritizing this type of content. LinkedIn wants to see that the keywords in your profile match the keywords in your posts. And if that is the case, and you seem like a highly credible expert, they're going to then feed your content to other people who have that keyword in their profile. Okay. So educational content is great for promotional posts, and then you retarget that educational content. Anybody who likes and comments, you're going to retarget those folks in the DMs to actually sell to them, to give them more value, pull them through your funnel, bring them to a lead form, bring them to a call, whatever it is, keep the conversation going. Okay. This positions you as a thought leader because you're being consistent in your messaging, you're showcasing your expertise, you're teaching other people what you're an expert about, or what you sell or whatever it is. And another reason why this works well is that it shares you in a really focused way. So I alluded to this before, but when you do any sort of viral action on LinkedIn, what happens is that your first connections see you taking that viral action, especially if those first connections are highly engaged with you. They work at the same company, they engage on your content. And so what happens is these people who are active on LinkedIn see their friend liking, commenting, or sharing your posts, and chances are that person is also in the same industry, or it works at the same company, or whatever it is, and they get a referral basically to you, and that's how you grow your connections in a medium to slow way on LinkedIn. So educational content is shareable, and it's becoming more shareable because LinkedIn is prioritizing it, but it is not the most shareable type of content because it's geared towards a specific audience. It's not relevant to everyone, okay? It's one of the ways to get shared, but it's not the most shareable content. Motivational and inspirational content is by far the most shareable type of content. Why? Because it attracts a broad audience, okay? And so when you're trying to attract a broad audience, if you're a person who's like, I want to become an influencer, I want 100,000 followers, I don't care about ROI, I just want to grow, build my personal brand, I can sell later. I don't even care if I have a young audience, an old audience, a rich audience, a poor audience, an educated audience. I don't care. I just want a following. I want to be an influencer. You would want to lean into motivational, inspirational content because everybody can relate to that. Everybody wants to improve their lives. Everybody wants to feel good. Everybody wants to hear a good story and level up their life, right? So it's relevant to everyone. And you're usually going to attract a really broad audience. And typically you have nothing to sell or a pretty low ticket offer. So the more niche you are and the more educational you are, typically the higher ticket your offer because you're helping a very specific problem and you can charge more for that. The more broad your content, the more motivational, inspirational, sort of not specific, then usually you have a low ticket offer. Maybe you have a book, maybe you have a podcast, maybe you have an email newsletter and it's free, right? Free to low cost. Maybe you have a really inexpensive course that's relevant to a lot of people, like how to use AI for your business or something, right? So that's motivational content. And then lastly, interactive. So interactive content, there's lots of different hacks I teach in my class in terms of how to make interactive content go viral. So I'll give you guys one. So at Yap Media, we were the first ones to really realize that posting up a graphic with no caption would go massively viral. So we typically will post up quote cards that look like tweets with something that's a quote that we know has gone viral in the past, either on another platform or on LinkedIn before. It's a quote that we know really resonates with people. It gets people triggering their emotions, triggering their own stories and opinions. It makes people want to share that image with their own caption. And why? Because we didn't put our own caption. One of the psychological things and human behavior aspects on social media that you need to understand is that people want to contribute. And when you lecture and you give too much information, people don't have anything to say themselves. So in my posts, I'll purposely leave something out that's obvious so people can chime in and give their own answers. If I'm saying like, here are the top 3 ways to hire talent, for example, I've got a post that goes viral over and over again. And I say something like, personality, responsibility, and like something else. And I don't say skills. And then everyone's like, but what about skills? You miss skills, right? So you can't put the whole kitchen sink. And this is why sharing a graphic with no caption with a quote that's really powerful works, because it triggers people to share that graphic with their own caption and their own thoughts. And that's how it goes viral. But most of the time, interactive content is more of a community moment. So you may have been posting consistently, getting a lot of new first connections, and you want to sell to these first connections. Then you put up a post. You'd say like, let's have a conversation in the comments. You might even put an external link in the comments and mess around that way and not care to go viral and get the clicks. And that's a community moment. And it's not going to go viral, but that's okay. Or for example, the other day I was on the plane and I was super bored. And I had 5 hours and I had Wi-Fi and I was like, hey guys, ask me anything. I'm on the plane. I'll answer anything in the comments right now. Let's have a moment together. And you connect with your audience that way, right? Live stream is very similar, right? It's the least shareable, but you're making those authentic connections, having conversations, and that's also super important, okay? So let's talk about features and asset types. So what's hot, what's not. Like I said, guys, I have a dashboard for all my influencers, and I can tell right away what's working, what's not working. So as of today, this is what's hot and what's not. So photographs, lifestyle images work the best of yourself. People like to see the whites of your eyes, the whites of your teeth, right? They want to see your picture, and you want to program people to understand what you stand for, where eventually your face represents more than you. When people see my face on LinkedIn, I don't represent Halataha anymore. I represent that you're never too old to learn something new, that anything is possible, that life is limitless, right? I represent those messages now where people are sharing me on autopilot as soon as they see my face, okay? That is what I want you guys to have. Carousel sliders, really great for educational content. Keep it a 7 size or less. Put an image of a face on the cover, right? Lots of tips and tricks with sliders. LinkedIn Lives work extremely well for selling. So the same way I'm on a webinar like this, you could be on LinkedIn Live talking to your first connections. And you can even take that LinkedIn Live and replay it over and over again, even if you're not live, and engage in the comments. So this is the type of stuff that I teach in class and in my mastermind. Polls are really hot right now. They weren't hot, now they're hot again. Really easy way to create content, especially if you're strapped for time. It takes a few minutes and they perform really well. And you can use them as a retargeting tactic. So for example, if I'm in the promotional period for my masterclass, I might say something like, are you trying to level up on LinkedIn? Yes or no? People who say yes, you can then retarget them in the DMs and say, hey, I noticed that you said yes to this. I'd love to give you this free webinar, blah, blah, blah. So you can also use polls for sales, and it works really well. Motivational video. So this is really the only type of video that works on LinkedIn, typically 30 seconds or less. Engaging with the sound off. When are people logged on to LinkedIn? 10 a.m. in the morning. Most people are on LinkedIn. That is work hours. People are on LinkedIn at work. They're in meetings. They're not going to watch your video with the sound on. It needs to be off, needs to have pattern disruption, unique backgrounds, and be understandable and engaging with the sound off, and ideally motivational and positive. So when I say pattern disruption, what I mean is kids playing outside, animals, people running a race, something that really looks different, people with a graduation cap giving a speech, or a really famous person like Elon Musk or Steve Jobs or something, giving some really great content that's a short snippet. So that's the kind of videos that work well on LinkedIn. Now, what's not hot is text only posts. They have no dwell time. When you put up a photograph, people are spending time on the photograph, and you get more content scoring points for that. Reshares and reposts, we talked about that at length. Not hot. Talking head videos, sensory adaptation. People see it over and over again and they start to glaze over. So talking head videos. Newsletters do terrible. And a lot of my clients are really like, they're stuck on their newsletters because they were hot years ago, but they're not hot anymore. They're treated like reposts and reshares. They get very limited visibility. In fact, they get negative content scoring, because what happens is that people click the post, they click to read, they get bored, they click off, and you get negative points for them not spending enough time on your article. That's why it performs bad. Sharing articles from a third-party website. So if you're on Forbes, you find a nice article, you share it to LinkedIn, that's a no-no, because you're bringing people off LinkedIn. That's one of the worst things you can do. Now I see we have 159 people. Like I said, I'm staying on for as long as we have 150 people. So if you were one of the last Mohicans on this call, don't ruin it for everyone. I'm staying on for as long as we have 150 people. Okay. So we're going to get into Q&A. We do not have time to go through the rest of this. I always am open to give you guys my advice. So let's do our quiz. Let's do a quiz, and then we'll move on to Q&A. What kind of content is best to target a niche audience? A, motivational, B, interactive, C, educational. We got varying answers, but the answer is C. Educational content allows you to provide value and gain trust while enabling you to see who your potential clients could be. True or false, newsletters are an up-and-coming hot asset type. Yep, that's correct. The key was niche in the last one. Yep, false. Newsletters get very little visibility and can hurt your profile's overall performance. Instead, share the content in bite-sized pieces via regular posts. Guys, We did a test, and our clients who insisted on posting newsletters against our guidance typically got 30% less overall visibility in their feed. Okay. So that's because LinkedIn is judging the performance of your past content. So if you're doing things like shares and newsletter posts that are getting very little engagement, it's going to hurt the momentum of you going viral in the future. Yes, I'm talking about LinkedIn newsletters. All right. So let's talk about our breakthroughs and get into Q&A. All right. How would you feel if you were a thought leader in your niche? Michelle, you're better off starting an email newsletter and bringing people off the platform so you can engage with them in a different way. How would you feel if you were a thought leader in your niche? What would it feel like if, imagine you were me, guys. Imagine you had 230,000 people who followed you. Do you guys know that if I go on LinkedIn and I literally just put up a post and I say, ask me anything right now, I'll get 200 people asking me questions? No matter what time, even if it's 10 p.m., I always have people who want to talk to me, who want to learn, who think of me as a thought leader. It is life-changing. How would more visibility, authority, and discoverability to your profile impact your sales in the short term? Kevin, let's take that question in a bit. All right. If you stayed consistent, how would this improvement in your social reach impact your business 1 year from now? Like think about it, guys. If you just started posting today and you were consistent and you followed the hacks and you took my course and you understood how to do invites and in sales, do you understand how much more business you would have in 1 year from now if you just did what I taught? Nobody is teaching this. This is like a golden field on LinkedIn that not many people are taking advantage of, right? Imagine you can proactively reach out to your leads. Your leads are finding you on their own accord. People are submitting forms in your website. People are DMing you. How can you help me? If you're in corporate, you're starting to get more respect at work because you're a thought leader in your niche. So we've talked about it, a bunch of different case studies. Also, if anybody wants to hear more case studies, let me know in the chat if that interests you. We've got more of them that we could play, but we haven't talked about you. And I'd love for everybody on this call to be our next big success story. I love helping people. I love helping entrepreneurs. This is what drives me. I have to say that, like, out of all my revenue streams, masterclass is the smallest, most rewarding by far, because I get to help entrepreneurs and I get to see everybody thrive. And it is so much fun. And our community is awesome. We've got an awesome, awesome community of entrepreneurs. So we've got a masterclass next week. It's our biggest masterclass yet in terms of attendance, which is really exciting. Can't wait to meet all of the new entrepreneurs and coaches and corporate professionals. September 6th and 7th. It's 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. And so in this masterclass, you're going to learn how to create a personal brand, become magnetic to your audience, gain mastery over the LinkedIn algorithm, and unlock your wildest business dreams. And we've got insane bonuses. This is something I didn't talk about yet. Everything that I create for my team, I literally then create as a bonus for this class. You guys basically have the Yap Media team in your corner after you take this class. So copywriting checklists, I literally created this for my team. Give you the same one. Viral copywriting templates, all the same templates that we use for our clients to go viral. You guys get a copy of all of our templates. DM and connection scripts and templates. Social media calendars. Content engagement reports so that you guys understand how to do weighted engagement. We've got weighted engagement calculators. We've got a content matrix. We've got audience building SOPs. We've got removal of followers SOPs. Literally, this is like 10% of all the bonuses. I make bonuses almost every week from just what we create for my clients and my team. I then turn it around, brand it, and give it to you guys. We also do on-demand training. So basically in my mastermind, so what happens is I have this 2-day course. And most people who finish the course, they join our community of entrepreneurs and coaches. And we're all in a WhatsApp group. Everyone's talking all day, supporting each other's posts, there's peer calls. And then we have twice monthly office hours calls. And once a month, I'm doing feed reviews and post reviews where people are submitting their posts. I'm telling them, this is why it did work. This is why it didn't work. Here's how you can improve. And then we also do feed reviews where I look at your profile and I'll tell you like what's wrong. And it's more individualized. And then people ask about their offers, their business, and me and also all the other smart entrepreneurs are chiming in and we're helping each other. It's like a forum for small business owners and entrepreneurs. It's really, really cool. Then the other office hours, I bring in some huge expert to give us a training. So for example, we had Michael Michalowicz, who talked about how to develop a winning offer. We had Ken Okazaki, who does like Alex Hormozi's videos. He's now doing my videos. He does like Grant Cardone's videos and Ty Lopez. He gave us a video marketing course. Then we did how to close more sales with Richard Moore. Now, all these past guest appearances for the office hours are put up as a replay for anybody who missed it. And then every month we have a new guest who's ongoingly teaching us, mostly having to do with that offer conversion section of the framework, right? Because my stuff is all about pull in, push out. And then we have people coming in and helping us with offers. And I'm continually helping you guys with that. So, and then basically anything you guys want to learn about, we learn about ongoingly. So for example, I've done like LinkedIn Live trainings and stuff like that, or like specifically had a training on a podcast, because everybody has different interests. And sometimes if the majority of the group wants to learn about it, I put together something and we learn about it. Okay. So it's insane bonuses and it comes with a community. Now we've got a special offer for the next 24 hours. So classes next week, it's September 6th and 7th, guys. We're going to have it's going to be also recorded. So if you're unable to attend parts of the session, you can always watch at night or within the next 2 weeks, you can watch the replay. So even if you can't make 2 full days, but I would highly recommend that you try to flesh out your schedule and make this. The next time I'm doing this class is in December. I don't have a lot of time. I'm not doing it until December. So I would highly advise that you try to make it happen now. If for some reason this price is too much for you right now, talk to Kate. She can give you a payment plan. Okay. So if anybody has any questions, you can also talk to Kate and she'll have a one-on-one call with you. If there's certain questions that we didn't get to answer today, Kate is happy to have a one-on-one call with you. She can drop her calendar in the chat. But for everybody who has the investment ready, who wants to invest themselves, who knows that if they do this, if I'm able to 3 to 10x the number of leads that you have, will you get an ROI from this pretty much immediately? Probably, right? Probably. So this is an investment. Also, high quality students, really high quality students, because it is an investment to make. And you will get your ROI almost immediately because it works from day one. This is not something that it's going to work 6 months from now. It works from day one. Okay. And you get a built-in community, which a lot of my students say that's their favorite part. So I already went through this, so I'm not going to go through this in detail, but it's 2 days live with me. You're going to go over your personal brand, psychology of design, copywriting, algorithm, publishing, engagement hacks, and sales. Okay. We have a new AI portion of this training that we're releasing as well. So we're going to start getting into Q&A. If you guys want to raise your hands, Kate, if you want to rattle off or type in the first questions that we have. Let's get started. From Steve, does content need to be video? And let me stop sharing so that we can just see each other now. And if you guys want to raise hands and actually ask questions, that would be great. All right, from Steve, does content need to be video or is static content work equally as well? Great question. And the answer is that static content works better than video content typically on LinkedIn. Photographs that are 4x5 size. So if you go on my profile, you'll see what that is. It's not quite story size. It's not square. It's 4x5. We call it poster size at Yap Media. So lifestyle photographs perform the best with a story. Okay. Motivational viral videos that have pattern disruption that are under 30 seconds long with the sound off also perform really well. And quote cards, graphic cards, really simple quotes that are graphics work really well. All right. From Jennifer, what about sharing a post from my personal profile to my business profile or on my LinkedIn group? Is it a negative impact? So if you're not trying to make your business profile go viral and you're literally using it as another way to get a share to make your personal page go viral, then that is a good tactic. If you want your business profile to also get traction, that will hurt its performance. Next question. How to promote educational services on LinkedIn. How to promote educational services on LinkedIn. So this is a little bit of a long, I'm not going to be able to cover this. You'll probably be a really good candidate for the class, Blake. But essentially, you need to leverage your feed and you need to leverage your invites and your DMs. It's all important. You can't just post on your feed and not leverage invites and DMs. Leveraging invites and DMs is what's going to make you go viral on the feed. And so you need to understand your target profile, maybe the different titles that you're trying to target, proactively invite those people to your network, pull them into a funnel. You need to create educational content that's going to speak to your target audience and retarget those posts. So at a high level, that's it. But Blake sounds like you'd be a great candidate for the class. Okay, we've got so many questions. Why don't we start? I want to hear people's voices and make this more interactive. So if you got a question, raise your hand and let's do it that way. Let's do it that way because we've got so many questions. Okay, Brian, you've got the floor.
Yes. What if some of our past posts have great content in them, but they didn't perform very well because maybe I had too many hashtags in them or I shared them too much or whatever? What if I just took those hashtags out, replaced them with the keywords? Would that be sufficient? Could I still use that again?
You can definitely reuse your content if you feel like it will do well. What we don't know is that if the content actually resonated with your audience or not. But if you leverage the tactics that I taught you today, maybe you pair that content with a good photograph or a quote card. If you make it skimmable, if you use keywords, less hashtags, don't tag people, and all the stuff that I taught you today, I guarantee you it's going to perform better. But what we don't know is if that content actually resonated with your audience or not. So something to note for everybody on this call is that when something goes viral for me, I actually use that content concept over and over and over and over again. I recreate that post and almost always it goes viral again and again because there's something about that meaning of the content, not the content itself, the meaning of the content that goes viral. So if I put up a quote card of a quote that goes viral, I might then put it in a story with a photo and it goes viral again. I might then put it in a video and it goes viral again. And I recreate it over and over again. So you always want to repurpose your viral content because it's going to go viral again. And as long as it aligns with your messaging for your voice and your brand, then you're continually saying the same message. And that's how you create a consistent brand. Branding is consistency, saying the same thing over and over again so people know what you stand for, right? So it also aligns with branding and being consistent. So hopefully that helps. Does that help you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And thanks for hosting this today, by the way.
Yeah, of course. Hope to see you in class. Tom, the floor is yours. Yep, floor is yours, Tom.
Okay, so you may have answered this. So we're a nonprofit organization. We have a nonprofit page on LinkedIn, and then my personal page, nonprofit page, we're a startup for the most part, has a couple hundred followers where I have well over 18,000. So I'm trying to kind of cross promote. Does that hurt me? Does LinkedIn pick up on, hey, you're the admin? That's not good, or?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's okay. It's not a long-term strategy. Like, for example, I have a company page. I never bother to share. Like, you're better off trying to get shares from like the public than shares on your business page, right? But it's not going to hurt you. It's going to hurt the performance of the business page, not your personal page. And you're smart in trying to prioritize your personal page. I get this question a lot. People ask me, hey, should I prioritize my business page or my personal page? You always want to prioritize your personal page because you can DM and invite on your personal page, which drives the algorithm for the feed, where you can't do that on your business page. So leveraging your business page to support your personal page is totally okay, but you're better off just like really trying to optimize for shares for real from like the actual people on LinkedIn. Does that make sense?
Yeah, one of my strategies with this was that entirely, right? I have clearly far more connections, but I also want people to jump to our website, which I have that visit website on my company page. And I follow, okay, how many people check out the company page and how many people do the custom button clicks. So it does translate to getting people to our webpage where we can ask for donations. The problem with the nonprofit world is for all but like 10 states, you have to register every year in those states to solicit, which means even have a newsletter with a donate button. You can't not do it. And so if I get people to go to the homepage, the company page, and then go to the website, then they can donate and it's not on me. Like I didn't solicit them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I will say that, most people are driving people to their business page from their personal page. So are you aware that you have a work with me link now on your personal profile?
I did not know that.
Yeah,
So
there's a link at the top of your personal profile that you can customize in any way. If you check out my profile, you'll see it. And a good hack to do is to take your profile banner and tell people, hey, if you want to check out my page, it's like right below. So you can actually point, because some people don't know about this work with me link yet. It's like 6 months new, 6 months old, 6 months new. And you can actually point in your banner to tell people to click that link with some sort of call to action.
gotcha. Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Melody, the floor is yours.
Hi, Hala. How are you?
There are you.
Good. I wanted to know, how do you know what's viral for that month? Do you look into a search bar? Is it like how on TikTok, you have a specific viral section? Does LinkedIn have something similar to that?
Yes. LinkedIn has a news story page, and on the sidebar, you'll see the news stories of the day. So when I was talking about LinkedIn's editorial agenda, there's certain things that are consistent. So like hiring, recruitment, careers, graduation, entrepreneurship, these things are consistent. LinkedIn is constantly wanting to brand themselves as a professional platform for that, right? Then holidays. So is it Women's Month? Is it, Black History Month, whatever it is. So they're aligning to holidays. And then lastly, news stories. And they put their news stories on the sidebar of the homepage. And there's actually a page that you can go to that has the different news stories. Kate, I don't know if it's easy for you to grab. I think it's in our masterclass materials. If you want to pop that in the chat for them, that'd be awesome.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Welcome. All right, we've got Doss. Floor is yours.
Hello. Thanks so much for this. This has been amazing. I just wanted to ask about the importance of like the static visuals. Do you feel like there's a big boost in engagement and effectiveness of visuals if it's like selfies versus professional?
Good question. So the more authentic it looks, the better it performs. So the more it looks like you're in your own house, you're on your desk, an action shot, you on stage, you on a computer, you on the phone, you on a couch, that stuff's going to perform way better than you in a white background or something like this. So professional photographs, like when I do a photo shoot, I have a professional photographer, but then I also take pictures on my iPhone and take selfies, and those do just as well. So you don't need to invest in a photographer, but it should be lifestyle photos. So actually like in a situation that looks like an apartment or a workplace or an event where you're like taking action in an office meeting or something like this. Does that make sense?
It does.
Perfect.
It does.
And then very unbranded. Okay. So like no logos, don't like clutter up the image with like something else. The only place where you can put content on your photo is like right at the top. You have like a few words that you could put at the top of the photo. Other than that, it's going to be a distraction and perform worse.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you.
Welcome. All right, Shannon, floor is yours.
Hi, Hala. Thank you so much. This has been extremely valuable. My question goes back to one of the hacks that you were saying to avoid, which is, reposting or resharing. And I'm trying to become a thought leader and gain credibility. And I was recently published in an article. What is maybe a tip or trick that you could share about how, or maybe you don't, like how can you share that to your audience and not be dinged?
Yeah, great question. So when you're thinking about content and getting PR, what people don't realize is that many people aren't going to actually go read the article. You actually want to leverage that article for your social proof. And that's the most important aspect of the ROI of getting press. It's actually, how do you weave that into your marketing so that you get the social proof? So in terms of doing that, your LinkedIn profile banner, you can now put featured in XYZ, right? In your bio, featured in this publication, and your website, featured in this publication. So you want to put, if it's a well-known logo, especially, you want to like associate your brand with that well-known brand by leveraging their logo on your materials. Okay. So that's number one. Number two, in terms of actually how to share the article, which was your actual question, you want to share it as original content. So you may put a photo of yourself, maybe like, let's say you were on Forbes. I don't know where you want. You might put the Forbes logo on that picture. In my masterclass, you'll learn that there's certain areas of the picture that you want to put logos. So you'd want to put it in the bottom left corner, for example, so that it's not taking up too much, like people don't pay too much attention to it, but they see it, but then they're also inclined to share, which is the action that you actually want them to take, right? And so you put up a picture as the Forbes logo, and then you put the link in the comments, and you put up something that's like meaningful, that gets people enticed to read the article. But that's how you would share it. You wouldn't tag that magazine. You might tag them in the comments, but you put the link in the comments, you tag the magazine in the comments, and you put something interesting that even if people did not click to read the article, that they'd find value and want to share your post. So maybe a quote, something that like to teach them something, so that they share it, even if they don't click the article, because chances are they're not. Now, if you really want people to read the article, anybody who likes and comments on it, you can then DM them and spoon feed them the link and say, hey, I noticed you engaged on this. If you want to read the article, here's the link. Now you'll get people actually clicking. People click in the DMs. They're very rarely clicking on posts and comments, if that makes sense.
That's amazing and brilliant. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Hope to see you in class. All right, Royce, you are up next.
Thank you, Hala.
You're welcome.
Quick question on comments. Now, you said don't be the first comment. What about when you need to put in, your website or your lead magnet or whatever? Should you wait for somebody else to comment first? And the other thing is, if you react to people commenting right away, is that a good idea? Will that help the algorithm, or should you wait until you
really good
respond?
question. So if you have to put a link in the comments, you want to wait until somebody else comments first. This is another good reason why being an engagement pod is helpful, because people will comment right away and then you won't have to wait. Okay. When you're commenting, you actually want to keep in mind the ratio of comments. LinkedIn is typically looking for 30 to 50% author to external comments. You don't want to over comment. So you want to make sure that you're responding to the new comments. To the old comments, and you're leaving the new ones unanswered. This is also really important for human behavior and psychology. If you answer all the comments, people who go on there, first of all, they're going to be freaked out that you're answering the comments right then and there. It makes them shy. Secondly, they'll think the conversation is over because every comment is answered. So you want to keep the new comments unanswered, answer the old comments, and keep the ratio 30 to 50% author comments to external comments. And then your second question was engaging right away or not. Engaging right away is a good thing. You want to engage on your comments within the first minutes, but you want to keep that ratio. And so typically, you want to engage maybe the first half hour, then take a break, come back an hour later, engage. You basically keep your post alive by going back and engaging on it, right? So that's all to say, if your stuff hasn't gone viral in 8 hours, it's dead. Right? So the first 8 hours, going back continually and responding to your older comments and keeping that ratio, like I mentioned, is good. Now, viral actions are also counted on the author side. So you liking a comment actually increases your content scoring. Replying to comments and people replying to comments increases content scoring. Every click on your post increases your content scoring, author or external. Okay? Make sense?
That's beautiful. Absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I have Kate. Do I have a meeting at 1? What's my timing like? All right, Blake, the floor. Oh, let's see. Floor is yours, Blake. All right, I'm going to go to Alex and we'll go back to you, Blake. Alex.
Hey, Hala, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Amazing stuff. Thank you so much for your generous offer. I have a question regarding video. A lot of people and businesses create content such as podcasts and blogs. And I was wondering if you make short videos like 30 seconds or less highlighting that content. Would that make sense to put that on LinkedIn?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, you know, on other social media, you have shorts and reels. They're very short videos that highlight oftentimes longer form content like podcasts, like Joe Rogan does that at Museum. How would that work on LinkedIn, you think?
Yeah. So, in terms of promoting a podcast, those talking head videos actually perform really bad because people overuse them. So, they used to perform well, but now when somebody sees a talking head video on LinkedIn, they tend to glaze over. Also, because those videos tend to not be very engaging with the sound off, and most people are on LinkedIn when they're at work. Okay. And so it's not engaging with the sound off, and it also doesn't have any pattern disruption. And so the best way to promote something like a podcast is actually to play the full podcast episode. It can be pre-recorded, edited, but you can still play it on live stream using an app like Restream. And you can play the full podcast episode on your LinkedIn Live, and you can play that once a day, even twice a day. And then anybody who likes and comments on that live, you would then ask them to subscribe to your podcast. So basically, the same tactics that you use to promote something on Instagram, you can take the objective of getting subscribers, for example, but you have to do it differently on LinkedIn because not the same. It's not a video forward platform. So the thing
Okay.
that would work the best would be using live stream on LinkedIn.
Okay, that's very useful. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, we got Solo as our a question, and then I'm going to take a short pause. I'm going to answer some more questions because I know we have a lot more, but I do want to make sure that you guys have the link and everything like this. All right, so Solo, the floor is yours. Or Blake, the floor is yours.
Hello, hi Miss Hala, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well. Hala, I'm actually a new marketing executive for an educational platform. It's called Byju's in Kuwait. So my goal is I have to get new clients from schools and to connect them about our services and about our educational system. So how can I do that on LinkedIn, but in a more informational and educational way that will get more clients for my business?
Sure. Talk to me again about your target audience profile. Who buys from your company?
Okay, so majority at the moment it's targeting for schools because we're an educational platform. We have over 1,700 cities worldwide, 5.2 million downloads, as well as it's highly educational and informative in bite-sized information the candidates and the students can receive. There is one-on-one tutoring.
Sorry. You're talking, who are you selling to? What is, like, give me one sentence. Who are you selling to?
It's majority for the students.
Students. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can target people who go to certain colleges. So everything is searchable on LinkedIn. So you can essentially target colleges. You can see who is enrolled in those colleges currently because LinkedIn has that information. And you would want to invite 70 of those people a day to your network. Then you can also look up events that college students are registered to by looking up certain keywords and target people and DM people that way, working around the first connection limit. You can also find groups. The current students of certain colleges probably have groups on LinkedIn. You can register for those groups. If you get accepted, you'll be allowed to DM those people. Then you'd also want to figure out what their problems are and create educational content that's going to proactively bring those people in based on the things that they're searching for on LinkedIn. You can use LinkedIn like Google. So what are the keywords that you think people would be searching for? How can you write content with those keywords? What keywords are in their profiles? How can you write content with those keywords? Right? So those are just some of the ways, but you need to find your audience en masse. And the big thing for you is you need to proactively bring people into your network. They're not just going to find you right away. You need to the push out strategy first before people find you on their own accord. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just have one more question. This is a bit out of context at the webinar, what you're learning. Which other platforms apart from LinkedIn I can use to generate more clients?
I would say LinkedIn is the best one for what you're talking about. Maybe TikTok, given how young your audience is, or YouTube might be a good choice as well.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Hala. Have an amazing day.
Thank you, guys. All right, guys, I'm going to share my screen really quick. So we've got a class next week, September 6th and 7th. Now, the next round of questions, I'm happy to take any questions about the course. Okay. If you guys have questions on the course, raise your hand, and I'm going to take any questions on the course. So I've got a new class, September 6th and 7th. I'm not going to do it again until the end of December. So that's going to be the next class. If you can't make this class, the timing, you can watch it on demand, and then you can meet the community and everybody in the next office hours. So we do an office hours immediately after the class is over. Everybody joins a WhatsApp group. You guys get access to the mastermind for free at first, and then it's a very small fee to be a part of the mastermind. And if you don't get the chance to join us live, a lot of people might say, oh my gosh, I already have a commitment on the 6th or the 7th. You can watch the recordings at night. We send them out immediately. So if you miss a portion of class, you can watch it at night. And B, you can watch it within the first 2 weeks. And if you join the mastermind, you have it forever. And you have the past classes as well and the future classes as well. Okay. And then you'll meet everybody in the next office hours, which you'll have more time to plan around. So you'll still meet the group in WhatsApp. You'll still meet the group in office hours, even if you can't physically be there the 6th and 7th. Does everybody understand that? So we have a discount for the next 24 hours. You get 30% off. If you guys click that link, you'll get the code immediately taken off your total. Okay. So this is $13.99. This is by far going to be the best discount that we have. And like I said, I'm not doing the class again until December. I have really limited time. And I will not, and you know, hopefully I do it in December. It's still not confirmed. We don't have the dates yet, but we are doing it next week. And like I said, we've got the biggest turnout ever, which is going to be really great energy and really fun. Lots of great entrepreneurs already joining. I've got a lot of people promoting the class that are my friends and influencers. I'd love to understand who here is still on the fence of taking class. Who has not bought their seat yet and still on the fence? Do we have any questions? Somebody asked if there is a student plan. We have a payment plan that is private that Kate can send you a link to a payment plan. If anybody wants a payment plan, Kate can send you a link. Okay. Any other questions about the class? Any other questions about class? Can partners join for class? If somebody is physically with you, they can join you for class. In the mastermind, they'll need to buy their own mastermind because that is going to be everybody supporting each other's posts and things like that. And we can also do bigger discounts for people who buy more than one seat. Steve says doing a recording for such a big investment is not a good idea. I agree. I do like in person. I think it's better for retention, but some people like to learn on demand and rewind and go at their pace. We put everything in segments so you guys can really go at your own pace. And honestly, I'm continually reiterating in office hours and like continually teaching people because you're not going to remember every single thing in the class. So it's always important to have ongoing learning as well. What other questions? Do we have any hands raised, Kate? I'm not on that screen anymore. Any other questions, guys? Otherwise, we're going to close out. We have a note from Tamina. What's the fee? It's $13.99 with a discount. Simon says he wants to be a part of it. Great. We will see you in class. Any other questions? What if I want a seat in the mastermind and do the class later? Maria, you can get the on-demand recording and that will give you a seat in the mastermind and you can do the class later. So you'd still have to buy it now, but you can always do the class later. With the mastermind, you'll have, it looks like I froze. Can you hear? Okay. With the mastermind, you'll always have access to the class and the new classes. And sometimes if somebody misses the class and they want to take it live, I'll just let you join the next one live. Even if you did an on-demand this time, but you're like, wish that you got the live experience, I let my students who take the on-demand take the live class the next time. Thank you guys. I hope you guys learned a lot. If you guys learned, let me know in the chat. Tell me how worthwhile this 2 hours has been. I really hope that you level up your LinkedIn and that you get more leads, more visibility from what I taught you today. And hopefully, if you're ready, if you're able to make the investment, that I see you in class next week. I'm so excited for that. And I hope to see you guys again at these webinars. You know, if you're really serious, if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, I highly recommend that you take the course. If you're a coach, consultant, this will drastically improve your business. And for everybody else,